Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and we just got done talking about accomplishments for 2022. So logically, the next thing to do is to set some goals for 2023. So I've written out a list of goals and they fall roughly into two different categories. Category one are my sewing goals. Anything to do with what I want to sew, different techniques I want to learn, that kind of stuff is going to go into the sewing category. But then I have another list of goals which relates more to content creation. So, how do I want to start improving my filming setup, my posting schedule, all of that kind of stuff related to the content side of things. And I'm going to start by going through the sewing goals and then go through the content goals. So if you're not at all interested in the content side of things, then you can stop watching at that point. The first sewing goal I have is to really broaden the types of materials that I work with. So since I started doing historical costuming from the 18th century, I've worked with a lot of linen, I've worked with a lot of quilting cottons. In a lot of my personal sewing, I've done, cotton lawn. And I've done, of course, a lot of silk. So the majority of my sewing, if not all of it, has been with these natural fibers, which is a good thing, but it also means that I've really only sewn with things that don't have much stretch because they're woven fabrics. And it also means that I haven't sewn with a lot of really lightweight, kind of slippery fabrics, like maybe chiffon. So I want to start working with chiffon. I want to work with viscose. A lot of the modern garments that I purchase that I love have been made with viscose, which is like a really nice, drapey, smooth fabric. So I want to start learning how to work with that. And another material that I have not worked with is wool. So that will fit very nicely into some historical sewing projects as well. Sewing goal number 2 is I want to join a sewing guild. One of the things that I love about making these videos and posting on Instagram is that I kind of have this online group of people who I can see their works, they can see mine, we comment on each other's stuff, right? And that's a really, really great community. But I do think that having a group of friends in person to interact with, to get project advice on, just, to have that shared common interest would be really nice. Now let's get on to what I'm sure you all are waiting for, and that is my list of projects that I want to complete in 2023. First up is more 18th century stuff. So I want to do the Townsend masquerade dress. If you all remember, last year I did an art as inspiration video where I did a deep dive into this Tudor inspired black masquerade dress from the 18th century. So I want to make that. I think I have the skill set for it now, which at the time that I made that video, I did not feel comfortable or confident trying to recreate that. Now I do, which is really exciting to kind of see my skill set and my confidence progress. So I'm gonna make that outfit, and I actually just ordered the fabric for that. So I think that might actually be first up on my makes. Next, also in the 18th century, I do want to tackle a robe a la Française or a sackback gown. This is the very stereotypical, what you think of when you think Marie Antoinette, the big side hoops, the big pleats that fall from the shoulders. It's something that I've wanted to make ever since I started my historical costuming journey, and I just haven't quite made it yet. One of the things that has held me back is the sheer amount of fabric that you need. I think I calculated and I'm gonna need 20 yards. That's a lot, and whenever I have gone shopping in person for silks, there's never that much left on the bolt. So that means that I need to purchase online, but then I run into the whole issue of having to get swatches and decide what fabric I want, and it's kind of hard to tell when you have just a tiny little swatch, you know, what am I gonna like when it's my entire body and these big side hoops all draped in this fabric? Like, am I gonna like the fabric as much? So having a little bit of indecision there around what fabric I want to choose for that project. But it is on my list of makes for 2023. Next up, I teased this a little bit in my last video. I am going to do some 1910s era things. I'm going to start with 1912-ish, so Titanic era. I'm going to do a dinner gown or ball gown. I'm not really sure which one it would be considered, but I'm basing it off of an original photo that I have found, but I'm going to switch up the colors a bit. And I am also going to make, from the same time period, 1912 or Titanic era, I want to make sort of a more casual everyday outfit with a white blouse and a walking skirt. Then I also want to make something from about 1916. It's only 4 years later in the timeline, but what I love about the entire 1910s decade of fashion is that styles change a lot from the beginning to the end of that decade. So 1916, the silhouette starts to change, the waist drops a little bit, you get a lot more like volume in the skirts. So it's just gonna be a really fun time period to work with. And then something that's sort of in the back of my mind that I may or may not get to is starting to get into Tudor era clothing. I have bought the Tudor Tailor book. I actually bought it maybe a year and a half ago. I think the outfits from that time period are really pretty, but it does mean getting into yet another completely new time period. And so I would have to kind of make all of those undergarments to give the right shape and structure. And since I'm already doing that with the 1910s, it may be a little bit too much to tackle this year. But I am going to put it down as sort of a stretch goal. So if all you care about are the sewing goals, feel free to stop watching now, but do make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the alert button so that you can be notified when my new videos release, especially if you're interested in seeing me make any of these new projects. But if you're in it for the long haul, then you may as well stick around and hear my content creation goals for the year. Number one, I want to start posting on social media more frequently. I tend to kind of have these creative bursts where I go in spurts and I create a lot and then I drop off and do nothing, as evidenced by the fact that I think my latest video before like my New Year's stuff was 4 months prior. So I'm not going to try to make very regular postings. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to post every week or even every 2 weeks, but for my YouTube videos, I will try to hit every 2 weeks. And when I do take a break from posting, I will try to make it less than, several months long. So not being maximum consistent with it, but being more consistent than I have been in the past. And then for my Instagram posts, I want to try to at least post once every week, if not more than that. And what is going to enable me to do that is using like a content scheduler. I have found Facebook or Meta Business Suite, which is free, and it allows you to create posts and then schedule them in advance. Because with Instagram, what I find is that I just don't think to do it every day, and I don't have the time to create every day. But I can set aside a couple hours on one day of the week and make several things and then schedule it to go out more. Goal number 2 is to start doing some live streams. I really like when other creators do just sort of like casual, chatty live stream videos, and I want to start trying to do that. I've been very intimidated by it because I'm not sure that I have the right equipment and technical setup to accomplish that. It's something that I still need to look into and research and see if I need to get any more equipment or different software programs to enable me to do live stream. But I'm envisioning these as being just sort of casual, let's sit and sew something together, you know, while I'm working on a project, and that way I can interact with people and, you know, respond to comments live and just have more of that sense of community, right? That's one thing that I love about my channel is the sense of community it's given me. I want to kind of get that with the In-Person Sewing Guild, and then this is another way for me to just make more friends who sew or who are interested in sewing. I also want to branch out with some of the types of videos that I make. So broadly speaking, the majority of my videos are let's sit down and make a garment, and that's really great. I love those types of videos, but I also think it would be fun to start doing some more like analysis type videos. Now, I'm not a costume historian, so it may not be like along the academic lines, but you know, casual videos like let's rank historical costumes, or like rank historical costumes from a particular movie, or doing more of the video series that I started last year of art as inspiration. So taking a historical piece of portraiture or art and kind of doing a deep dive onto what the person is wearing, and if I were to try to recreate it, how do I think I would do that? Because I'm finding now that I'm getting really inspired by those previous videos that I did, and now have one of those on my list of makes. So it would be really cool to kind of have more of a backlog of that type of thing. And then finally, I want to figure out my lighting setup, my photography setup in general. I just moved into a new place. I actually now have a dedicated room for my sewing, which if you remember last year I was in my living room, but I have not quite figured out yet what the best lighting setup is. I was really lucky before in that room that I was in had like a big window, was basically the entire wall. On one side of the room was a window, so I had a lot of natural light to work with, and I really didn't have to supplement it that much. In this space, it is a much darker space. I just have like one window off back that way, and it's really making it a lot trickier to film. So this video is sort of my attempt with my existing equipment to light it properly, but I want to learn more about how to properly light a scene and then get the appropriate equipment that I'm gonna need. And hopefully that will make my videos just look a lot better and be more enjoyable to consume. Along those same lines, I also want to figure out sound in this space. I find that the audio that I've been recording in this space kind of has this like tinny sound to it, so apologies if that's been bothering you in this video, but that's another goal, is to figure out the mic and all of that setup that's gonna work for me in my new space. Okay, well, we have a big long list of goals for 2023, and I am super excited to start tackling them. If you want to follow along on my journey this next year, please do subscribe to my channel and hit that alert button. See you next time.